Hello, everyone. I'm Pira Nada. Welcome to Rappler Talk. Our guest today is Dr. Carl Balita, who is running for the Senate after putting up successful franchise of review centers called the Carl Balita Review Center. He's also a registered nurse and midwife, and now he wants to add another feather to his cap as senator if he wins in the May 2022 elections. Welcome, Dr. Carl Balita.
Thank you very much, Pia. Such an honor to be with you.
Okay, so si Dr. Balita is actually right now on the campaign trail as we speak. He is in Bicol, campaigning with Isko Moreno. Siguro, Dr. Carl, my first question would really be how your journey started. I mean, we know that this is your first time seeking an elected office. So very interested kami. After your stint and you're a successful entrepreneur already, you actually host a radio show. Very successful na. Why did you think of running for senator?
Because I want to be part of the solution. We've seen this pandemic and it brought us three crises. And by God's design, the crisis, revolve around my areas of expertise. I'm a dual health professional. I'm also a doctor of education. I'm a licensed teacher. And of course, you know that there's a learning crisis, there's health crisis, and I had been an advocate of the micro, small, and medium enterprises, and I know that they are hard hit by the pandemic, and there is that economic crisis also that affected our micro enterprises specifically. So I was tired just watching and sitting in the bench. So I want to be part of the solution and offered myself. And of course, it was through the request of the health sector, the hospital group, the professional group, and later on a call from Doc Willie Ong and a call from Yorme convinced my family to allow me to run.
So tama ba, no? You kasi naalala ko you were the second senatorial candidate to join Isko Moreno's slate. And you in
Mhm.
fact first joined Action Democratico. So paano yun? You decided on your own to seek the senatorial post, and then did Mayor Isko Moreno have to talk to you first to prime you, or parang pakwento ng sequence of events exactly?
Yes. Una, tinanggihan ko yung health sector for pushing me because my family was very reluctant that I join politics. Although I had been in public service for so long in my life. And then came the very insistent and very persistent sector saying that I am a winnable candidate from the health sector and they needed somebody who would be pushed into the Senate. And then came Dr. Willie Ong, also convincing me to join because he opted to go to the vice presidential slate. And therefore, there seems to be a vacuum, according to him. And he said, Carl, I'll help you. Come on, join us. And then I was still reluctant. And until Isko Moreno had to talk to my family over a phone call, over dinner, and convince my family that I should join him. And which, I did. I asked for God's sign and I saw it. And of course, the most important sign was that none of my family members would disagree with the invitation.
Okay. So, like I mentioned, no, nasa Bicol ka ngayon, and alam natin na it's the bailiwick of Vice President Lenny Robredo, and we've seen the kinds of crowds she can attract in like places where she is strong. And you've also been to the solid North Ilocos region with Isko Moreno, seen how the hold of the Marcos family on the local politicians there. So, tanong ko sa iyo, Dr. Carl Balita, ano naman yung strengths ng Isko Moreno team given, the strengths of the two candidates who are above him in surveys? I mean, obviously, binibit-bit ng mga candidates nito ang kanilang senatorial bets and their
Mhm.
slate. So, you belong to a much smaller slate of Isko Moreno's. What are the strengths for you of his campaign team?
Well, we come close to the people. Kami lumalapit. Di kami masyado dun, so we gather everyone from one province and bring them by bus or by jeepneys. We go around, we do motorcades, and talagang lumalabas yung mga tao. We have a rock star Isko Moreno draws the crowd out of their homes, their workplaces, palengke, lumalabas sila. And I think that's the strength because he's a celebrity in the first place, and people are becoming very curious of how he looks. First, of course, then later on, you will be surprised that we fill up venues, but we don't intend to really gather crowds in very big venues because we want more interactive engagement. I think the strength is we're small, and kasya nga kami sa isang tricycle used to be, but now we're like six buddies going around. And maiksi lang yung moment namin with the group kasi ilan lang kami magsasalita. Normally, it will start with the senatorial ball, then he will be introduced kung may local official, si Doc Willie and si Isko. And then, ganon. And of course, our conversation is very comfortable. Wala kaming celebrities na dinadala, mga
Mm.
showbiz personalities. Kami-kami lang. And it's,
Mhm.
I think, I can see from the eyes of the people masalubong sa motorcade that it's really bringing a lot of joy in their hearts. I can feel that.
Mhm. So you mentioned nga no, yung three crises that you spot, and yun nga, you want to use your multi-hyphenated background to kind of pitch yourself as someone who can address these three crises. So siguro first question for you, something that the youth are very concerned about, yung education natin. So we are struggling, the country is struggling to reach levels of educational quality that the likes of Singapore, for example, have reached, especially when it comes to math and science. So para sa'yo, bilang entrepreneur teacher, what do you think are the biggest gaps in our system?
Well, we were caught by surprise by this pandemic. Before this pandemic came in, we were facing some need to evaluate the K to 12 curriculum because
Mhm.
it was, it graduated a few years back. Its first product of the senior high school. And then we were talking about Industry 4.0, how it would affect education. Because education should respond to the needs of the changing times, and the Industry 4.0 is a serious conversation at that time in the corporate world. And of course,
Mhm.
kailangan sumabay yung education. But came this pandemic, nagkaroon nga ng na-accelerate yung ating pag-embrace ng digitalized learning or blended learning, the use of technology in learning. And nagpatong-patong na yung need natin to actually look deeply and extensively ang ating educational system. Kasi prior to that, may mga international assessment exams na we did not perform well. Our learners did not perform well. So to me, ang unang-una ko talagang gustong gawin, Pia, is yung EdCom. We will look back in history na in 1990, we called for an EdCom. It was a legislative call to have that EdCom, Education Commission. And then in 1991, naglabas na nga ng mga recommendations. And one of them is pinaghiwa-hiwalay yung nag-trifocalize ang ating educational system. Nalipat yung mga teachers from civil service to PRC, among others. Kailangan din ba i-review natin yon? Ano yung naging gains natin in really trifocalizing our education? Now, I'm calling for EdCom 2 so that we can look deep and wide yung
Mhm.
areas of education. Maraming challenges and maraming opportunities, again, especially in the area of agriculture, yung mga
Mhm.
trucks natin. If I may explain, ang vision kasi ng K to 12, magkaroon ng apat na pintuan, apat na exit, no? Yung first, yung usual, yung pupunta sa college. Yung pangalawa, yung employability ng graduates of senior high school kasi dapat meron na silang qualification, NC2 man lang. Tapos yung iba, skills development, continuing skills development. And pang-apat yung entrepreneurship. Ang ganda talaga ng vision. Pero the way
Mhm.
we saw it, talagang ang pinuntahan pa rin ng graduates is yung academics, yung pursuing college, which
Mhm.
is not bad, pero sayang
Mhm.
kasi yung entrepreneurial opportunities nila at saka yung employability, especially of the poorer sector, na gusto muna nilang kumita bago sila mag-proceed in higher education. Lifelong learning kasi ang gusto natin sanang gawin, Pia.
Sa palagay niyo po ba kailangan i-revise or i-amend yung K to 12? What do you think?
I-review. Kasi ang curricular review, hindi naman yung ginagawa talaga immediately after or during implementation. Kasi the best product or the best element to evaluate actually ay yung product, yung outcome, which is the competencies of the graduates. Ang gusto nating makita yung kanilang competencies, hindi yung paglabas ng college, ng high school, kung hindi yung competencies in the world of work, kung intend sila to go to work, or college, kumusta naging performance nila. Kasi ayaw nating isipin na ang K-12 nagdagdag lang ng 2 years in our
Mhm.
basic education. Ayaw nating isipin yon kasi it would have been a waste of time if that was the only achievement it did to comply with the global standards or even the ASEAN, ASEAN economic, yung ating cooperation, no? So I don't want to look at it that way. We need some empirical data on how our graduates of senior high school performed in college, in employment, in entrepreneurship, and of course, in skills development.
Mhm. So ano po yung solution niyo to close those gaps? Because you said nga our focus has been attaining college level education. So, para sa'yo, how do we then improve our status on the three other aspects of K to 12, or how really would you plug in the gaps in the system you've seen?
We really need to look into the system in its totality, no? From ano kasi to, learner centered. So we want to see the competencies of the product. And there we will look back atras, bakit hindi na-achieve itong competencies na to? Bakit
Mm,
marami pa rin ang mas pinili yung college? Bakit nangulela sa preferences ng mga bata ang agriculture? Yun ang mga
mm,
gusto kong i-address. Bakit ang science, technology, education, and engineering and mathematics I mean, naging preferred nila, and yet hindi siya nagbunga ng mas mas magandang performance ng ating mga
mm,
students. Kailangan tingnan natin yung mga learners, yung kanilang competencies. I'm very concerned about agriculture, Pia,
mm,
because ang average age of our farmers now is 67, no, 57, 59. So they'll be retiring soon. We have to really engage our basic education para piliin ng mga bata yung agriculture because we're an agricultural country. Pero kung titingnan mo, ang design kasi ng K to 12, yung academic, nakahiwalay yon. Tapos merong sports, merong, napunta yung agriculture dun sa TVL, Tech Voc
mm,
livelihood. Ang nangyari, alam naman natin na by branding, medyo hindi preferred ng bata yung TechVoc, although napakaganda sana ng TechVoc kasi it's a
mm,
quick way to employment the way Germany is doing it. No? Ngayon, ang suggestion ko dyan is let's see agriculture as an attractive entry point for our basic education students. Kaya gusto ko siyang isama doon sa STEM. Kasi ang preferred ng mga bata is STEM. STEM refers to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. At kung titignan naman natin ang ating agriculture in its reality, in its real form, mapapansin mo na ang problema natin ay nandun sa use of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in agriculture. So by doing STEAM rather than STEM,
mm,
alam mo, maybe this is a boring discussion, pero pag yung mga estudyante nakita nilang, wow, yung agriculture is an academic strand under STEM, baka
mm,
sakali gustuhin nila yon. Now, imagine kung ang kasama mo as an agriculture student yung mga kukuha ng engineering, kukuha ng science and technology, you will be infected by their by their preferences to also explore the beauty of science and technology. Mas matutulungan natin ang agriculture. I think there's a branding issue with our
mm,
agriculture education. Kasi look, happy, even state colleges and universities na ang major thrust ay agriculture, hindi rin ganon ka-attractive sa mga young people. So we really have to close that gap first. And education is supposed to deliver competencies of graduates specific and relevant to the needs of the society. Kailangan talaga natin. Pag hindi natin ginawa to, Pia, the number one threat to our national security is our food security. And with at the rate it's going, kailangan maging very sustainable when it comes to the food that we produce for ourselves.
mm. Yeah, it sounds like a really good idea to change the branding of agriculture. Pero alam natin na many-headed beast itong problema eh. Like, yes,
Mm.
you may like promote agriculture to the youth as parang, oh, pwede siya maging high-tech. But when they see the farmers, actual farmers on the ground na, di ba, parang wala naman masyadong gadgets, wala naman tech that they use
Yeah,
on the field, and they're poor, and
mm,
earn, like, are the poorest wage earners or workers in society. So how then do you change, how do you do that branding when on the ground this is what they will see?
correct. That's the very beautiful question, Pia. We really have to, on that side, we have to help the farmers. Ang nagpapahirap naman sa farmers natin, yung middleman eh. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest, no? I have very good case material for you. Kailangan ko bumili ng 4,000 kilos ng kalabasa before Christmas, 3,000 kilos ng kamatis. No? You know why? Because binabarat ng gusto ng mga middlemen yung mga farmers natin. And of course, the farmers are not assisted enough in terms of their crop, fertilizer. Pag tag-ulan, mahal yung fertilizer ng tag-ulan, pero mura lang yung pagtag-init. Alam mo, parang may manipulation dun sa area na yon. I don't think our farmers are getting enough support for what they do. And res ipsa loquitur, the thing speaks for itself. What kind of
Mm-hmm.
life are they living? Hindi siya
Mm-hmm.
inspiring even to their own children. You know, my grandfather was a farmer, and none of his children, actually, only one went to farming. Sayang. Dapat naging inspiring yung buhay ng lolo ko sa mga uncle ko at naging inspiring din sa akin, pero hindi nga siya nangyari. They all went to college and went to other careers, and we lost our farms. Wag sanang mangyaring ganon. Until such time that maging two-pronged yung approach, we make sure that there's a supply chain from the young people na magiging farmers, and we create some impact on helping the farmers show to the world that it is a good career option. Malaking bagay. And Pia, I'm exploring, there are now actuarial studies that I'm doing, that I'm asking my team to do, to look into some retirement for farmers and for other sectors who are in public service like transportation sector. You know why? Bakit mo pipiliing maging farmer na alam mo, nakita mo yung lolo mo at 70 at 80 nag nagsasaka pa, nangingisda pa. Kasi wala naman silang, parang walang retirement plan for them. Unlike in other countries, na when you're a farmer and for certain number of years you're farming, automatically when you reach the age of retirement, you get retirement pay, you get pension plan. Why? Because you have served your countrymen. The same is true for jeepney drivers, yung public utility drivers. Kasi kung tayo, nagtatrabaho tayo in corporate organization and we're paid retirement pays and we have pension plans because we served our companies. These people served our people in a very informal way, but they have rendered service to our people. Hindi sapat na because they become senior citizen, they get what generically senior citizens are getting. Gusto ko ma-explore yon. In fact, pinapaaral ko na yon kung ano magiging impact ng ganung policy. Kasi mukha talaga na sobrang na-neglect yung farmers natin. Kaya walang gustong magsaka, walang gustong mangisda. Number one, wala talagang technological support. Let's face it. Wala silang access to financing na nasasabihin mong reasonably available for them. In fact, this is something for you. I'm also conceptualizing an agri-bank. Ambitious ako, Pia, as a new candidate and as an entrepreneur here in this race, and as a whole brain literate person trained to think in a whole brain process, I always want to think like there is no box. They say, think out of the box. No, I think without a box. I always think of what else is not done. Imagine an agri-bank in the real sense, where a farmer will go to a bank to borrow not money, but to borrow seedlings, fertilizer, etc. Maybe some amount of money to sustain some human resource requirements of the farming and other needs. And then sasabihin niya, gusto ko magtanim ng kamatis. And then the bank will say, nako, ang dami na pong nag-loan ng kamatis. Bagay po sa inyo kalabasa, or bagay po sa inyo. Then other value, high value crops at that, or even palay or something. And then ilo-loan siya. And then this can be done using artificial intelligence. Madali lang naman i-program to. Na kung kamatis yan, ilang buwan bago mamunga yung kamatis, few days before, the farmer will go back and say, wait, 2 weeks from now, mag-aani na ako. Ang ibabayad niya ngayon dun sa kanyang produce, sa kanyang inutang na loan, yung kanyang produce. At malaking element nito is insurance. Saan to galing, Pia? This is the Korean way. The Koreans are doing it. Pag pinautang mo kasi yung farmer ng pera, baka ibayad din lang niya sa utang niya, na patong-patong na. Pero pag pinautang mo siya ng crop, ng seed, ng fertilizer, pinautang mo siya ng kailangan niya, tapos may insurance siya, kasi alam mo naman, our situation, bagyuhin tayo, and so on. Imagine that situation na yung farmer, hindi na niya problema ang pagbebenta ng produce niya, because this bank will make some connection and transaction with middlemen and marketplaces, maybe even direct market for the products. I've done it, Pia. I have a case model in Nueva Vizcaya. I'm very proud to tell you about a story of F2C. Then I was president ng Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Quezon City. Pumunta ako sa Nueva Vizcaya. Nalaman ko na ang sayote doon, 3 piso. Ang kamatis doon, 4 piso. Sa Maynila, 30 pesos ang kilo some 2014. You know, Pia, the only challenge we had then was to inspire the farmers. Can you or any member of your family bring these products directly to the consumers? It's from farmers to consumers. At nung sinabi nilang, opo sir, gusto namin yon, yung asawa ko, yung anak ko, yung manugang ko, and so on. The next thing I did was to talk to local government, the provincial government. Meron ba kayong maghahakot sa kanila? Sabi nila, sige, pwede yung truck namin. The third thing I did was to call Vice Mayor of Quezon City, Joy Belmonte at the time, and ask for a space in the City Hall on 2 Mondays a month. 2 Mondays a month. Alam mo, Pia, they were earning millions. You won't believe it. Kasi the City Hall employees themselves are now accessing produce much lower and fresh. Did you know that continued since 2014 up to the pandemic time? Doon lang sila tumigil. And when you go to Nueva Vizcaya now, you call it F2CO. They have organized themselves and they are now ready to go into any marketplace, a farmer's family selling directly. Pia, that's what I call agripreneurship. And whom...
Can I just ask to clarify, yung agri-banks, how local do you want this? Is it gonna be regional, per barangay, per province?
You know, we have an OTOP kasi in DTI, yung one town, one product. Pwede rin nating i-explore yun . It can be provincial by province kasi masyadong malaking region. Kasi you have to develop local produce din . Tapos magiging specialized. Did you know the story, for example, of Mang Inasal? They had to adopt a community in Iloilo just to plant bamboo for their sticks. And now the community is producing barbecue sticks, even exporting it. Why? Because there is a demand. They were able to match the supply and demand. Ang problema sa atin, nag-oversupply, plus Pia, katakot-takot na smuggling. No? At talagang hindi na makontrol ang pagpasok na imported na carrots. Kawawa yung mga farmers sa Benguet. Yung mga imported nating, even bigas, di ba? Yan naman ang nangyari. Daming dapat ayusin, Pia. That's why we have to be more creative than just giving motherhood statements na tutulungan ko ang farmers as if alam nila, hello, mag-isip tayo ng ibang solutions. And ako 3 lang to, Pia. We have to increase our supply of young farmers, and that's through education. Number two, we have to make the farmers more entrepreneurial so that they can put more value into their produce and they don't rely just on middlemen, or if not the farmers, maybe their families. And number 3 is really for government to enable them and support them.
Okay. Second issue on education that I wanted to ask, kasi gagawin natin ngayon education amid the pandemic, and alam natin na even if pababa yung cases from in most of the country, the pandemic is still here and the virus has not yet been eliminated completely. And so we will continue to face issues like vaccine mandates for schools, for example, or mask mandates for teachers and students. I mean, ito yung mga issues na dinedebate all over the world. So as an educator yourself, what challenges do you foresee that maybe other officials are not yet talking about in the Philippines?
Oh, mine. Language teaching. You cannot teach language with a mask to children. Because language teaching involves this, lip movement, facial expression. Yun yung mga major challenges. How do you teach a child to pronounce F from P with a mask? That's a lot of challenge. Of course, the socialization in school. You cannot just tell children to be 2 meters apart or to wear the mask all the time because that's also not healthy for their oxygenation. And the teachers have to be really trained on ensuring that there is going to be safety in that classroom. It's the classroom if restaurants now are shifting to al fresco, maybe it's about time we do classroom outdoors, maybe under the mango tree or in an open space. There are so many challenges, Pia. But one of the major challenges are the graduates. And I have a solution for it. I have a suggested solution for it. This is the opportunity. This is a crisis which can be addressed by an opportunity. This is where dual education and training should be kicked off full time, big time. And apprenticeship should be done big time. And that can only be done if there is a very strong industry, and government partnership. How is this? Dapat ngayon, kung ikaw ngayon ay hotel, for example, I'm in a hotel. Kung ikaw ay nasa hotel, ang problema mo ngayon, yung applicant mo, produkto nung 2 years na virtual learning. I'm sure you will be insecure. Marunong ba talaga to? So what will you do now? What you will do now is actually with the help of the academe, create a training module so that your new hires will be trained using that module transitory as a transition phase to the graduates training under your own standards so that you will have good people. No, so train mo sila kasi graduate sila nung batch na hindi ka masyadong sigurado kung marunong.
Pero
Pero now
will the
that you
hotel be paying them? To clarify lang. Are you suggesting that magbabayad pa rin yung hotel ng salaries for these trainees? How does it work?
because it's the industry's responsibility to train. Yes. And that's
Mhm.
something
So
maybe
parang may
maybe
salary sila.
has to be because these are already graduates we're talking about it. No. But this
Kasi
is a
baka
very
naman pero how will you convince them when they might think na, I might as well just hire someone who's a bit older but, went through a non-pandemic school year. So how do you justify that kind
well,
of opportunity for them?
you really have to engage them. Kaya kami sa Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we're really pushing for apprenticeship. And there's a study conducted by UP School of Economics na ang dual education and training is even cheaper as an investment to human resource development. You know why? Because yung training period mo becomes part already of the employment process, no, selection process. Kasi ganito yung PIA. So ang importante dito, gagawa si industry, gagawa si hotel because you want the best for your people and you want the best for your customers. So you create the training based on your standards. Tapos ito, initially, ang pakinabang nito, yung new hires mo. Pero eventually, ang gusto kong mangyari dito, this is where the academe and the industry will partner. Kasi lahat ng senior high school mayroong apprenticeship. Meron silang on-the-job training. Dati-rate, let's face it, maging totoo tayo. Pag may OJT sa ang mga estudyante, pinagwawalis lang natin, pinagtitimpla ng kape. Now, no. Meron kang design. Kasi dito mo gustong makita kung paano mag-perform yung mga tao. Alam mo model ko dito, Pia? Germany. German education is very strong with dual education and training. Kasi hindi pwedeng pagka-graduate niya, doon lang siya makakakita ng world of work. That will fail. Education will fail in that case. At kailangan yung apprenticeship or yung on-the-job training or whatever term you want to call it across different areas of education, dapat in the real world of work. For example, kung ABM yan, talagang accounting office, mag-ooperate talaga siya, gagamit talaga siya ng mga technology, no, especially in skills. I think, matagal lang pinupush ang PIA, tagal lang pinag-uusapan yan with TESDA, especially with K-12. Pero hindi masyadong maraming taker. Pero you know what? Problematic din naman ng industry kung saan siya kukuha ng tamang tao at this point. Because you know what? Hindi naman bumaba ang demand. Na-mute lang yung demand. The demand for hotels, for tourism, for restaurants, for industries, nandyan pa rin siya Na-mute lang siya for a while. And that's why we are now preparing from the industry side. We're now preparing for the post-pandemic period. And we're also asking ourselves, how can we trust the product of this digital learning? And I think that solution comes handy. At ngayon, ang advantage ng PIA, yung mga hotels, mga restaurants, mga industries, meron na silang meron na silang training module that will come handy for them to accommodate in the coming years.
Okay. So, you're also someone who has been very successful in putting up businesses, lalo ng review centers nyo. And so, I just want to check, see, how would you address yung gaps within the MSMEs naman? Kasi you dealt with the education sector, pero ngayon the businesses also are playing catch up and maraming nalugi during the pandemic. What do you think as a businessman, yung biggest needs ngayon ng mga businesses in the Philippines, and how would you address them if you were to win in May?
Yung ease and cost of doing business, dapat matignan natin yon. Ng PIA, napakahirap mag-apply ng permits, no? Kahit pa sabihin mo in the digital age, ganun pa din Digitalize it, it will solve corruption somehow, it will simplify process. Alam niyo, yung isa pong entrepreneur, pag inalis mo sa trabaho niya ng one day yan, lugi na yan. So, kailangan pabilisin natin yon. Now, speaking of economics, dapat ang ayuda, ibigay din natin sa mga micro-enterprises. By the way, statistics, usap tayo ng numbers. I'm a very evidence-based person. 99.5% of all the businesses registered in the Philippines are micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Mhm.
You'll be surprised. The micro is 89%, small is 10%, 0.5 is the medium. What
Mhm.
conclusion can be derived from it? Hindi na-graduate yung micro to become small, yung small to become medium.
Mm.
Ngayon, dito nang gagaling yung pinopropose ko ng Micro Enterprise Commission. This is a commission which is a one-stop shop to integrate all government services and non-government organization services to the micro enterprises with growth mindset. Alam mo, ganito kasi, nagkaroon tayo ng Bambi Law. Yung Bambi Law, ginagamit ngayon ng small para maging shield niya dun sa mga benefits of being micro. So para bang small ako, magpapaka-micro ako, magmamicro-microhan ako kasi nakakakuha ko ng
Mm.
benefit. Ngayon, ang gagawin natin, kailangan yung one-stop shop na yan will really assist, no? Assess and assist. Kasi kita mo ha, ang daming magandang project ng DOST for micro enterprises. Na-avail ba yan ng mga micro? Ang daming projects ng DA, ang daming projects ng DTI. All you need is one office to integrate all of this. And please, ang sabi ko nga, ang term ko dito, nole me tangere. Don't touch the micro. You know why? Sila ang pinakang madaling i-bounce piya. Madali silang i-resurrect from the dead. Kasi maliit lang ang kailangan nilang puhunan. Pero may challenge sa kanila ngayon. Yung adaptive business mechanisms or business models where they have to use digitalization. Sample, yung dating restaurant na nagsara, ang ginagamit niya ngayon, yung kanyang kusina, nagluluto siya, naka-online siya. Pero hindi siya pwedeng ganun lang forever. Kailangan makatayo siya as an enterprise, meaning yung growth potential niya matap. Kasi wala na tayo sa survival mode. We are not only surviving now, we should be thriving now. So we should be growing now. We have to find all those that have closed, what are their needs. I'm sure capital lang yan, small lang yan. If you can start them, jumpstart them. Don't forget that MSME is responsible for 65% of all the jobs created in this country. So if you bring from the dead one micro enterprise, number one, nabawasan mo yung unemployment kasi trabaho na niya yung sarili niya. Plus, hopefully, maka-employ siya ng 2, 3, and as they grow, mas lalaki sila. Kawawa, we have a missing medium.
Mm. Why do you think kailangan yung commission? Why can't the DTI do it right now?
Because there are several cooks, helping them. Minsan, let's face it, hindi very clear yung kasi minsan nag-overlap. May shared service facility ang DTI, merong food innovation center ang DOST, may labeling concept itong kabila, may labeling concepts itong kabila, iba-iba tinitignan. Ang akin kasi kailangan ng micro-enterprise yung mentor. The mentor, a place they can run to, an agency that will be friendly to them. And we need a commission. It may just be a temporary commission just to grow them and to resurrect them. Pero, Pia, hindi enough. Kasi ayoko nung idea na may turfing, no? Alam mo, minsan yung label, may issue pa yan kung saan nilalagay mga logo. Alam mo naman minsan yung mga realisms ng ating So ang akin lang ay somebody has to really guide the micro, recover. At ang malaking need nila, financial Alam mo, ang dami-daming pera na nilabas to jumpstart the MSME. Pero tanungin mo yung tindahan sa kanto nyo, yung karinderya dyan sa kanto nyo, tanungin mo kung may capability siya to borrow. Hindi, wala siyang capability to borrow kasi wala siya ng requirements being asked. So yun ang ibig sabihin ng ease and cost of doing business. Alam mo, may problema ang marami sa kanila na hindi nila nare-realize Pia. They have to close their business. And closing or retiring your business in this country is very difficult. Magsasara ka na nga kasi bankrupt ka na. Napakahirap pa ng proseso. Because hindi ganun kadali. Hindi yung pag sinara mo yung tindahan mo, sarado na yun. You have to clear it with the City Hall, with BIR, etc. So, marami dyan, habulin mo na lang in the end. Pero, marami kailangan magsara officially. Napakahirap magsara ng negosyo sa Pilipinas. To be honest.
Dr. Carl, my last question is about the health sector. Kasi registered nurse kayo, you have experience in this field, and naririnig ko si Isko Moreno and Willie Ong talking about building more hospitals. In fact, they're saying dapat may bagong hospital per region. So that's 70 new hospitals in total. Pero paano naman yung manpower requirements nito? Kasi you can't put up structures and, di ba, expect them to run themselves. So how would you suggest, or what kind of law would you push so that we can actually encourage more health workers to work in these public hospitals?
I really love your question. I love this conversation. This is where I'm coming from to really propose the Omnibus Positive Practice Environment Act for health workers. Anong ibig sabihin? Omnibus para sa lahat, hindi lang pang nurses, lahat across. Positive Practice Environment, PIA, is a concept na hindi lang nakabase sa salary. Alam mo kung bakit? Hindi natin kayang sumabay sa sweldo na offer ng America, Europa, and other countries. We cannot. So, and according to theory, there are theories like Herzberg's theory saying na hindi naman talaga yung salary ang nagsasatisfy. Ang nagsasatisfy talaga is the work itself. And by positive practice environment, PIA, kailangan makita natin ang security of tenure, una yon. Career progression, like pag pumasok ka ba na nurse 1 ka, may pag-asa ka ba na after 10 years, 20 years, may promotion bang naghihintay sa'yo? May plantilla ba across those levels? No? Hindi ba matatrap ka na lang dyan? Siyempre, security, yung safety in the workplace, occupational health, continuing professional development, big issue yan. Yung CPD, very, very big issue. Now, that's on how to take care of those who are taking care of us. Paano natin papangalagaan yung nag-aalaga? Pero the supply chain has to be really fortified. Number one, we have to lift the moratorium to open nursing schools. The world needs about 6 million nurses by 2030. That's according to the report in 2020 by the WHO. We have to lift that moratorium. Marami ang interesado ngayon mag-open ng nursing school. Huwag na tayong masyadong restrictive. Let's lift the moratorium. Number two, hanapin natin lahat nung nag-drop out. Alam mo ang nursing, PIA, pagdating mo ng second year or third year, expensive yan because of clinical related learning experience. Maraming binabayaran. Marami dyan bumibigay second year, late second year to third year to fourth year. Hanapin natin sila and provide them scholarship. At least, shorter time na yung hahabulin natin for them to graduate. Of course, it's probably with a contract that they will have to serve the country for 2 years or something. Number 3, PIA, hanapin natin lahat ng bumagsak sa board exam. Ang passing rate kasi 30-40%. So 60% ng lahat ng bumagsak sa board exam are potential workers. That's generally across board exams. Ayokong review center kasi it will be a conflict of interest with the business I'm coming from. Ang gusto ko makialam dito, alam mo kung sino? Yung mga Center of Excellence and Centers of Development ng CHED. The best nursing schools, the best medtech schools. Sila ngayon ang gawing responsibility ng Centers of Excellence and Centers of Development na yakapin yung mga galing sa ibang schools to prepare them for the board exam. And number 4, PIA, we really have to strengthen our STEM education. Okay? Pag maraming scholarship sa STEM, kasi yan ang future eh. Future is science and technology, robotics, Internet of Things, big data. Yan ang future. So we have to really offer more scholarships along the line. Pero alam mo ang critical dito, alagaan natin yung mga tagapag-alaga para wag silang umalis. At para makita ng mga anak nila, kamag-anak nila na may career na naghihintay dito sa Pilipinas dahil sobrang ganda talaga ng opportunities overseas. And we cannot prevent people from making the choice if that's gonna be their choice.
All right. So we've been interviewing Carl Balita. He is offering himself as an alternative senatorial candidate. So alam natin, diba, the Senate race is full of old names, but we have the likes of Carl Balita who is really offering himself as someone na another choice for people out there who are looking for something different. So maraming salamat, Carl, for being with us today and sharing with us your plans, your proposals for a better Philippines.
Pia, can I just habol? No? Habol ka lang, very, very short
Go
lang.
ahead.
I hold 3 professional licenses. That's what I'm offering. I have 2 doctorate studies. I have international studies in Stanford and National University of Singapore. I'm offering this to the Filipinos. You don't always find professionals running in the Senate. It's about time. You know why? We need technocrats. We don't need, hindi pwedeng puro politicians. We need some technocrats. And you know what professionals do best? We're always governed by our code of ethics. I know how to operate within the realm of ethics, because that's what professionals are known for, and we take care of our integrity. I'll take care of you. Give me the chance. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for watching Rappler Talk. Till next time. I'm Pierre Nada. Goodbye.